Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We are going to discuss the instability in today's world and how it affects your retirement.
And on our Coach's Corner, we're going to show you how to create a retirement plan now that the burden is all on you.
And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to show you how to properly set up the 3 buckets to be successful in today's retirement.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now.
I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and applied them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm Wendy Erickson here with the coach, Chad Slagle. Today on the Clipboard segment, we're going to discuss the instability in today's world and how it affects your retirement.
You know, Wendy, there is so much instability and uncertainty in our world today. Throughout the pandemic, of course, we've been told so many different things, it's hard to keep track. You have to wear a mask, you don't have to wear a mask. Kids can go to school in person in one state, but kids have to go to school virtually in another. Quarantine is 14 days, no, quarantine is 10 days. Taxes are going up, taxes are not going up. You have to wear your mask into a restaurant, but you don't have to wear your mask when you're sitting at the table. All of that to say we are constantly receiving tons of information, and so much of it is contradicting. It's hard to feel, certain really about anything. There's so many things that we cannot control happening in our world today, and all of it can really get to be overwhelming. Now more than ever, you want to make sure that you have stability, especially when it comes to your money you've worked all these years to accumulate. It's important you feel like it's secure. In these times of uncertainty, you can still control how your money's invested, what your money's invested in, and of course, who you work with when it comes to investing your hard-earned dollars that has taken you a lifetime to create. Now, all of that, of course, when you have that, can make you feel a lot more stable. But the biggest thing is to make sure that you have a step-by-step plan in place that shows you where you want to go and exactly how you're going to get there. And this plan and this structure, of course, will give you peace of mind in these uncertain times, which unfortunately, Wendy, as you know, are all too common today. We're constantly have this contradicting information all around us today.
You did a really good job of describing this past year. Oh my gosh, what's the right answer? Well, in the subject of retirement itself, there is so much information on the internet, online, about when it comes to the subject of retirement, what you should do, what you should not do. There's a lot of misinformation online. So how do you sort through it all? And it's no wonder that people like myself, pre-retirees, put it off. Oh, we're not there yet, so we'll just deal with that later. But the next thing you know, you're at the point where you've got to do something and you don't know what to do.
You're right, Wendy. It's not just to have the responsibility of creating that plan for your retirement in today's pensionless society. There's so much information out there nowadays. It's practically impossible to know how to properly plan and structure a successful retirement. And really, where do you begin? And that is what we're going to discuss today, creating a secure retirement in this world, of course, and uncertainty that we're living in and it constantly changing. And make sure that you develop a step-by-step retirement plan to make sure you feel confident in retirement. And I think that's the biggest thing, Wendy, with all this uncertainty and all this instability, you need to have some kind of security somewhere, and a good place to start is your retirement, and especially as you get closer and making sure, hey, I got a game plan. I know things are crazy, but I'm going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
More than ever, I think a lot of us would like some certainty in our future.
For sure.
All right. Well, when we come back on Coach's Corner, we are going to discuss the burden of creating a retirement plan, but we're going to show you where to begin. Stay with us.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri, at our Creve Coeur and Sunset Hills offices, or in Illinois at our Edwardsville, Springfield, and Jacksonville locations. So call now to get set up on the right path on your journey through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back with the coach, Chad Slagle, and his colleague, Chad Tobin. And today on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some factors in today's retirement that put the burden on your shoulders.
That's right, Wendy. You know, for generations now, many of you have worked lengthy tenures with your employers and eventually left the workforce when you're ready to retire. And when you did retire, you likely received a monthly income stream for as long as you lived from that previous employer in the form of a pension. Well, today, pensions are becoming less and less common. Less than 20% of American workers today are retiring with a pension. If I would have asked, new retirees 10, 20 years ago if they're going to have a pension upon retirement, I would have heard a lot more yeses than I would no's. However, like I said today, the majority of people retire without a pension. And this is causing all of you pre-retirees and retirees today to have the burden placed on your shoulders. You are now responsible to create an income stream that lasts throughout the rest of your lifetime, no matter how long you or your spouse live. So retirement planning today is so much different than it was 10, 20 years ago. So today on the Coach's Corner, we want to go over some of those factors that puts the burden on your shoulders in today's world of retirement, Chad.
Well, and I think just like everything in this world when it comes to technology, kids, education, everything, retirement is changing so rapidly as we're going in. And so we have to make sure that with everything, technology, education, and our own retirement, we have to adapt to these changes.
Well, I know my parents had a pension. My dad had a pension, so he knew kind of like autopilot once he retired, and this is what we're going to get and this is what we need to live on. But I know I am feeling the burden on my shoulders because my husband and I don't have that. It's up to us to have a plan with no pensions. So
yeah, 20 years ago you really didn't have to do much financial planning. No. You had a plan set up for you, but now you're getting to the point you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now you're an empty nester. What are we going to do? Is it going to last throughout the rest of our lives,
yes,
right?
So we need a plan.
Absolutely. We had a couple come into our office a few months ago, and they had been watching the show and gave our office a call to schedule an appointment. When we sat down together, I started asking them about their current portfolio, and they said their $1.2 million, portfolio was completely diversified. Now, diversification, of course, is a risk management strategy that mixes a wide variety of investments within a portfolio to limit exposure to risk. One is down, the other one's up, and vice versa. So the couple and I started discussing their specific assets, and I saw they were in a couple of mutual funds as well as some bond funds for safety, or they thought it was safe. Once we broke down their portfolio, we discovered that if the market were to drop again, like it did say back in 2008 or back here in 2020, they had the chance to lose over 35% of their $1.2 million. That's over $400,000 they could potentially lose. And they had no idea because they thought they were diversified because that's what their advisor told them, Chad.
Yeah, and I think when you think about this is not true, what we call true diversification. I mean, that word diversification has been used pretty kind of openly through the last 20, 30, 40 years. But true diversification, just because you're in mutual funds or a basket of stocks, you are not diversified. And when we think about this, Chad, as you mentioned, they were using some bonds or bond funds for safety. And, we talk about true safety. As interest rates start to rise, these bonds and bond funds are going to act like a teeter-totter and go down. And so we want to talk about true diversification, what safety truly means, and how much risk you're comfortable with.
So you think you have a plan, but it's not set up properly. Things have to shift as you get closer to retirement.
Well,
so
yeah,
we need
and
to do
as
that.
Chad mentioned, completely different than it was 10, 20 years ago. In other words, you had stocks and bonds. Stocks go down, bonds come up. But now, like in 2008, they both went down. So like I mentioned earlier, you know, retirement today is much different than it was 20, 30, or even 30 years ago. The retirement landscape is changing. Back then, most people retired with a pension, so they would adjust their lifestyle for the income they had coming in the form of a pension and Social Security and extra savings if they did a good job on top of that. But today, the burden is put all on you, the retiree, or those that want to retire in the next 3, 5, 10 years. Now you have to take that nest egg that you've built and figure out a way to make sure it lasts throughout your life, and hopefully, if you set it up right, your spouse's life as well.
Well, and Chad, you mentioned, I mean, taking this nest egg is one thing, and setting it up properly to make sure the income lasts as long as you and your spouse do. So that's the first battle, but now all of a sudden retirement planning is now planning for your kids for legacy. It's also making sure that you have a long-term care protection. It's also how can we do some things strategically to put ourselves in the most tax-efficient manner with our dollars. So again, there's a lot of other things after the fact setting that nest egg up properly.
All right, well, let's talk about what would that be?
One of the big things, of course, is you have to look at also at this stage of the game is market volatility. You know, when we talk about that, you know, the last burden that many of you overlook is market volatility. We've been on a long bull run from 2009 to 2020. Then, of course, the pandemic hit. But what we are on another bull run now, hitting all-time highs in the market. And according to the market research firm Investec Research, the average bull market only lasts 3.8 years. So as you can see, this market can always continue to go up, up, and up. And there are many things in our world today that could cause a big correction, of course, as we found out with the pandemic, really at any moment. And as we mentioned earlier, Chad, stocks, bonds, everybody's doing great right now when the market's up. But when it has a correction, you want to make sure you're set up properly so that you don't lose that 20, 30, 40% of your portfolio, especially as you get closer to retirement. So you have to take volatility into consideration.
Well, and I think when you sit down to really kind of build this retirement plan for you and your family, you know, you have to plan with volatility in mind. So you have to build this plan assuming we're going to have volatility, so you know exactly your comfort level of how much money you have in the market and how much of this money you're comfortable possibly losing. And I think this is the appropriate steps you have to take to make sure you're taking the appropriate risk.
You want to be proactive, not reactive when the market goes up and down.
Oh, and I know people out there are thinking to themselves, I have some more questions. What's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Well, to answer any questions that you may have realized today or to schedule a meeting, call us at the number below, 888-294-9248.
And stay with us. We have more information. We will be right back.
Let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this or I didn't make this team. That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back once again to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just discussed the changing retirement landscape, putting the burden of planning on you. Now we're going to show you how to properly set up the 3 buckets in your retirement plan. Yes, buckets.
Yes, buckets. You know, we all know that there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all retirement, let alone a one-size-fits-all retirement game plan. Some of you may want to travel the world. Others may want to just live a more simple retirement and garden and read. The key to find success in your particular retirement is to figure out all of your needs, such as your current and expected expenses, health and family health history, family, values, risk tolerance, income needs, and more. The good news for your retirement is you can accommodate for all of these things by obtaining safety, growth, income, and liquidity. However, you cannot accomplish all of these things for your money in one place. There's not a one-size-fits-all. So that's why today we want to explain the 3 buckets for your retirement, the 3 areas for your buckets, and how they can fit into your game plan no matter what situation is in for you or your family in retirement. No matter where you're at, you can figure that out. But understand there's not one place that's going to fix everything.
Yeah, and I think, when I heard you say, Wendy, buckets, my 8-year-old son thinks of buckets as somebody that hits a 3-pointer in basketball. But I think for you as a retiree watching, each bucket that we go through, you have to understand exactly what that bucket's going to accomplish for you.
All right, well, after the year we just had, I know that travel is on my mind. I have big plans to be able to travel and have the money to do so when I retire. So we need to get going on figuring that out for
Go
me.
where you want, when you want, right?
That would be nice.
Because again, we never know when it can be over, so you want to experience as much as you can.
Like you said, it's different for everyone. So.
Absolutely. So how do you do that? Well, number one, let's talk about the first bucket, and it's not a 3-pointer, Chad. It is the secure bucket. The secure bucket is the bucket we need to solve for in retirement. I had a gentleman attend one of my educational events recently, and he had been watching the TV show for years. And at the workshop, he told me the reason he finally called in and signed up for the event was because his father, who was turning 85, and the advisor that they were both using at that time set up his portfolio, his father's portfolio, to provide an income stream until that age. The good news is his father was turning 85 that year, and it was going to last to that age. But the bad news is, he was turning 85 and completely healthy, still on his own, and his money was set to run out. So I think you can see the problem here that advisor had his father invested to a life expectancy to a certain age, not for the rest of his life. No matter how long you live, it could be 65, 85, 95, or 105. And this is the perfect example of where the secure bucket comes into play. You want to make sure it lasts throughout the rest of your life, not to a certain age. So it has to be secure, and you have to know that that's always going to come in no matter what.
Yeah, and I think we often talk about, when you're building your house or your financial house, you have to build it on a solid foundation. So this secure bucket is your foundation of that retirement plan. This is the money that you cannot lose. No matter what happens with the market, this money is not going to be lost. And no matter how long you live, it's going to provide you that income stream for the rest of your life. And if you set it up properly, like Chad said, for the rest of you and your spouse's life. And also, when you talk about that secure bucket, this is money that you have peace of mind, and it's that foundation for you.
Yeah, well, with the uncertainty and market volatility, I totally understand the secure bucket. But what is the next bucket we should be thinking about?
Well, the second bucket is known as the risk or the growth bucket. Once you have the secure bucket set up and you know exactly how much you need to set aside in it for safety and income, then you can set up your risk bucket. There, of course, is risk here, which is risky, which is chance, but there is also more reward if the market goes up. Now, this bucket is for the long term to keep up the rate of inflation and cost of living. But the problem is, Chad, as you mentioned, so many retirees today have all of their money sitting in this one bucket. And that's great when the market's going up. But when that market drops 30 to 40%, that's a huge problem.
Yeah, and I think this is the money in the growth bucket. You have to understand that you can lose money here. And, you don't want to be pulling money for income from assets that are actually losing. So you don't want to be locking in these losses. The other thing is, if you are going to have money in the market, if your risk tolerance is strong enough there that you're comfortable with this, we talk a lot with our clients about investing in good, solid companies that have paid consistent dividends for a minimum of maybe 20 years. So you want your money as you're retired working for you, as opposed to you out there when you were working for your money.
Yeah, if you're going to have money in the market, if the market has a 20 to 30% correction, think about all the things you did today. Mm-hmm. If the market drops, you're still going to turn on your lights, you're still going to eat and drink. Fortunately, as we get older, we're still going to take our drugs. So these are the companies that you want to be invested in. As Chad mentioned, good, solid companies that are paying dividends, but have been paying these dividends for many, many years.
All right, and what is the third and final bucket? I think I know.
The third bucket is going to allow you to travel. That's your dream bucket. Now, of course, this is your dream or extra bucket. Once you have both your secure and growth set up, now you can set money aside for those dreams that you have, whether it be traveling, whether that be the second home or condo, whether that be getting that RV and camper and going when you want. Also, this bucket, we call it the dream bucket, but it can be used for legacy. Maybe a dream is that you leave a legacy to your children, your grandchildren, or your churches, whatever that may be. But also, as Chad mentioned earlier, you got to make sure that you have money set up aside for long-term care as well. God forbid if something happens to you, you don't want to lose all your assets to a nursing home if something were to happen to you before you pass away.
Well, and I think, you know, this is something part of this dream bucket. What's that one thing that could wipe out all of those dollars that you work so hard and save for is your health care or long-term care. So that has to be part of this plan to protect those assets so, Wendy, you can actually use them to travel and do the things you love.
I think there's a little spoiling of grandchildren in my future as well, or whatever everyone else, their goals. But the point is you have what you need when you need it.
Absolutely, and you don't have to worry.
Yes, that sounds like a really, really good, certain plan in this time of uncertainty.
That's right.
All right. Well, in order for those of you watching out there to make sure your retirement is on the right path, Slagle Financial has educational events coming up in your area. To sign up for one of these events, call the number below, 888-294-9248. When we come back on the strategy play, we're going to discuss how to create your retirement plan using a diversified income strategy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money than it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri, at our Creve Coeur and Sunset Hills offices, or in Illinois at our Edwardsville, Springfield, and Jacksonville locations. So call now to get set up on the right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we're going to show you how to set up your retirement using a diversified income strategy. The foundation of retirement used to be pensions. However, this foundation is broken for most of retirees today. Why? Because you can no longer rely on your employer to take care of you. It is now up to you to solidify your retirement foundation. So how do you do that? By creating a structured game plan for your retirement income like the one we've outlined here, Chad.
Yeah, and I think, as you can see, we're going to have a diversified income strategy. And as you go and you look here, your guaranteed pieces when you're getting ready to retire. Social Security is going to be there. There's some question marks around that. And hopefully, you're fortunate enough to have a pension as well. However, as we've talked, nearly 80% of retirees today are not going to have that pension. So what do? You have to go into other sources to give you that guaranteed income. And as we've outlined here, a fixed annuity with a lifetime income benefit rider can act as your own family pension. And so number one source of income planning is to make sure you've got the income set up that's going to last throughout the rest of your life. Once that's set up, now we can move on to your investment portfolio and taking on some risk.
In this pie chart, these percentages are going to change for everyone. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a pension. Maybe you rely on more of your Social Security. The problem is with Social Security today, it's a skeleton of what it once was. And again, as we mentioned earlier, unfortunately, less than 20% of Americans have a pension today. So you may need more in the fixed annuity. You may need more in the investment portfolio. So it's different from everyone. But the other thing, Chad, that I think we need to make a point of on the growth side here, You are in the market for the long term to keep up the rate of inflation, cost of living. But if you are going to draw income from that, you have to make sure that that is providing you an income. It's not all growth. Now, we want our money to grow, but we have to make sure we're in good, solid dividend-paying companies that are paying us 5 to 6% on our money, no matter if the market goes up or down.
Well, and I think so often we see people coming in with that growth portfolio, and this money in the market in income that it's paying them is maybe 1% or a little bit better. And so we want that number to be, like you said, 4 or 5% plus to provide you an income if you need to live off of that and still give you some growth to keep up with inflation.
So even if the market's down, you don't have to go in and sell shares of mutual funds or stock at a loss. All you have to do is start drawing those dividends and that income. Do you have a diversified income strategy set up for your retirement? Are you looking for a firm that can help you create one? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play.
To get more detailed information on these strategies and how they can work for you, call the team at Slagle Financial now to schedule your 5-point inspection. The number to call, 888-294-9248. And we will be right back with some of the key takeaways from today's show.
I'm your host and coach, Chad Slagle, and joining
I'll be with you guys in just a few minutes.
When it comes to your health, your life, your family, your home, and your hard-earned dollars, of course you want to make sure you're working with that sharp, energetic, knowledgeable individual that is always looking out for your best interest.
Such short notice, appreciate it.
Thanks. It's time to get your financial house in order. This is the new age of retirement planning. In the Wall Street world, that's what they talk about. You got to have equity. Back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are Slagle Financial. Call now, 888-294-9248.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We've covered a lot of ground today. What would you say are some of the key takeaways, Chad?
Well, number one, Wendy, would be understand the right type of diversification to have in retirement. As Chad mentioned, true diversification. Number two, the burden is now on your shoulders. Make sure you set up a plan to account for this. And number three, make sure you have all 3 buckets set up for your retirement. Understand there's not a one-size-fits-all. It depends on you and what you want to accomplish in retirement and, of course, your lifestyle.
Some good information. Well, Slagle Financial and their team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. To sign up for one of these events or to meet with the Slagle Financial team of advisors, call 888-294-9248 or visit ChadSlagleShow.com.
Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Slagle Financial, realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and our wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. For my colleague Chad Tobin, my co-host Wendy Erickson, this is the coach, Chad Slagle. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.